Above the cabinet, a photograph showed a few men in finely tailored suits and fedora hats with shovels in their hands, surrounded by a large group of men and women and several priests. Angelo read the caption, September 29, 1957, groundbreaking day, St. Andrew Greek Orthodox Church, Chicago, Illinois. Other black framed photographs of A&P stores and architectural drawings assured Angelo of the possibility that money could be made by those who sought the promise of this land of opportunity. Angelo felt as if he had walked into a new future that had opened out before him, reflecting on all that had happened to him, all that was happening to him. He deduced that this was his last chance. He was within a hair's breadth of the final opportunity for survival in America. He was drenched in nervous sweat. The wall clock showed the time to be almost 9 o'clock. To calm himself, Angelo lifted a magazine from the highly polished coffee table and began to leaf through it when a door opened and an elderly gentleman with wavy salt and pepper hair and an aura of quiet dignity surrounding him like a halo came out. I'm sorry I've kept you waiting. I'm George Brassos. The man extended his hand in a warm handshake. The magazine slipped from Angelo's hand and fell on the table as he stood. Good morning, Mr. Passos. I'm glad you made it to America after all. Welcome. Passos spoke softly and with only a slight accent, as if the echoes of Greek speech had eroded over time. Thank you, sir. I am so honored to meet you. If it was not for you, I would still be living as a lone goatherd in Arcadia. Passos placed his hand on Angelo's shoulder. Do you think? Come into my office, please. Walking in with a solemn step, Angelo took the seat that was offered him, and Passos positioned himself comfortably in a high-backed armchair behind his wide, highly polished wooden desk. A gold chain that hung from his vest pocket lent a note of significance to his overall appearance, and a thin framed photograph on the wall behind the desk drew Angelo's attention. It showed an old, broken down cart piled high with apples at a street corner, a small, bony horse harnessed to it, and a young pushcart peddler, thin as a rake, smiling dully at the photographer on a wide boulevard that throbbed with peddlers. With a lift of his brows, Passos gestured to the photograph. Does it mean anything to you? Is it you, Mr. Passos? It is, isn't it? An early chapter of my life. I made the best of uncertain beginnings. Hard work taught me the value of $1, and I got a few good breaks. Ambition is a good thing. Sometimes it can make you successful, but it can also be blinding. So what can I do for you? Passos said, staring at Angelo and turning a little in his seat. In the attitude of a suppliant and feeling his face flush, Angelo showed Passos the collection notice, and haltingly at first, then with a freer flow, told him in perfect honesty and frankness, as if he were in confession, how it had been served on him and how the collection man had run after him at the university. I'm afraid they will deport me if I don't pay right away, Mr. Passos. He chose his words gingerly, as if worried that they would not be understood, and looked the man directly in the eye. His voice trembled with the magnitude of the dilemma he was facing. Passos drummed the desk with his fingers, and one of his bushy eyebrows drew back. Angelo wondered what impression he was forming. How much do you owe? $150, sir. Correct that, $115. Angelo caught his breath. I promise to make it up to you someday. Both of Passos' eyes drew back, and he stared at Angelo with a skeptical look. By not taking care of the bill on a timely basis, you threw a monkey wrench in the works. How did a good boy like you ever get in a fix like this, huh? Angelo hung his head. I don't know. I must admit that I can't even begin to tell you how badly I feel, Mr. Passos. I'd like to think bad luck. Come what may, sir, I will carry on to the end as a kind and decent man. Angelo could hardly get the words out of his mouth. A single act doesn't make a villain, Passos said. Life is a series of choices. Everyone is faced with them and must decide what to do. What's happening here is that you made a bad choice. His heart in his throat, Angelo felt himself stiffen at the man's forthrightness and the possibility of rejection. Yes, I have, he said, imploring Passos with his eyes. I was foolish, very largely a bad judgment. Yes, sir. Fidgety silence came upon them both. They shouldn't have come to the classroom and grabbed you by the neck. I find the threat lacking in conviction, Passos said, breaking a brief silence. Anyway, if I were you, I'd not put myself into the hands of lawyers. They can steal more money with a briefcase than 1,000 men with pistols. Passos glanced at his watch, then at the bill, and rang the receptionist. Joanne, this young man is from my village in Arcadia. You probably call the letter we received from him some time ago. Yes, I do. His parents are so poor that if you ever heard their misfortunes, your head would spin. But they care for their children. Just look at the outcome. Look at this fine boy. They sure had their priorities right. Passos stared at Angelo through and through like a man who knew his history better than he did himself. I see, the receptionist said. Passos looked reflective for a moment, and then he said, the children of the poor are born with their eyes open. Write out a check for him in the amount of $150. While the secretary turned and walked away, Angelo stood up. Thank you, sir, but what? I only owe $115. Passos grinned, looking at him with a great gaze touched by a rare gentleness. Do you mind having a couple extra dollars in your pocket? Deeply touched by the man's kindness, Angelo gazed at Passos as a traveler in the desert with the thirst of Tantalus looked at a man who offered him a cool, delicious drink. It felt like one of those moments when grace, the Holy Spirit, had visited. I take your help very humbly, sir. That's all right, then. Speechless, Angelo contemplated him. Young man, your story is but another version of the tale of my own youth, Passos said. That's why it touches me so deeply. Besides, knowing that a fine boy has graduated from the school we immigrants built in the village gives me great satisfaction, even if no one ever follows your example. I'm sure more capable ones will come along after me, sir. Just then, the receptionist came back. Passos took out a pen, uncapped it, and signed the check. Here you are, young man. Passos handed the check with one hand and thrust the other in a firm clasp. I'm working hard, sir, and your money will not be wasted, Angelo said. And in his gratitude, he tried to kiss the hand extended to him, but Passos withdrew it. Just give Joanne the collection notice, please. I'd like to have it on file. Angelo did as asked and then prepared to leave. Good luck to you, Passos said to him. I hope to see you